They paid soldiers to become psychics. No, seriously, in the 1970s, the U.S. military launched a secret program to train people to spy using nothing but their minds. It was called the Stargate Project, and it ran for over 20 years. One viewer claimed he saw a Soviet submarine base before any satellite ever did. Another said he mentally explored Mars and described ancient ruins. Sounds insane, right? But this wasn't a YouTube theory. This came straight from declassified CIA documents. So the real question is, if it was all just nonsense, why did they keep it going for 2 decades? I didn't used to believe in things like telepathy or mind reading. Those things were for movies, conspiracy theorists, or people with way too much time on their hands. But then I came across a file buried in the CIA's declassified archives. It was labeled Stargate Project. I thought it had to be something to do with space. A satellite program, maybe. What I didn't expect was psychics. Not frauds or mystics in robes. I mean military-trained personnel. And this wasn't a joke. This was an actual program funded by the United States government to explore psychic spying. It all started in the early 1970s, peak Cold War paranoia. American intelligence agencies were panicking over reports that the Soviet Union was spending millions on psychotronic research. That's a fancy way of saying psychic warfare. There were whispers that the Soviets had people who could see behind walls, read sealed documents, or even kill with their minds. Wild, right? But in Cold War logic, if your enemy is doing something, no matter how bizarre, you do it too, or risk falling behind. So the CIA greenlit a program. They called it Project Stargate. The research began at the Stanford Research Institute in California. Physicists Russell Targ and Harold Puthoff were tasked with studying something called remote viewing. Imagine this. You're sitting in a closed room in California. Someone gives you a random set of coordinates. No photos, no maps, no hints. And you're supposed to see what's at that location, using only your mind. That's what they were testing. They brought in a man named Ingo Swann. He claimed he could see distant locations just by focusing his mind. Sometimes he described specific objects, layouts of buildings, even weather patterns, all from miles away. The weird part? Sometimes he was right. This got the CIA's attention. And soon, the military got involved too. By the 1980s, the program had moved to Fort Meade, Maryland. And now, they weren't just testing psychics. They were training soldiers to become them. This new unit worked in secret. They operated in small rooms with nothing but a chair, a table, and sometimes a photo sealed in an envelope. They were tasked with viewing Soviet bases, missing people, even enemy weapon facilities, purely by mental imagery. One of the most famous viewers was Joseph McMoneagle, a former Army intelligence officer. He claimed he successfully remote viewed a Soviet submarine factory, identifying structures before satellites confirmed them. In another case, he said he helped locate hostages in Iran by mentally tracking them. Even more bizarre, he once attempted to remote view Mars, describing ancient structures, tall beings, and a collapsed civilization. Yes, Mars. Now, is he right? Nobody knows, but someone in power thought it was worth documenting. The Stargate team produced thousands of pages of reports over 2 decades. Some of the sessions were eerily accurate. Others were way off. Critics called it junk science. Believers called it suppressed truth. And then in 1995, the CIA shut it all down. They claimed the project had no actionable intelligence value, that it never helped the government make any real decisions. But here's the weird part. They kept the files, and those files were only declassified years later. When you read through them, one thing stands out. The viewers truly believed in what they saw. They described places in stunning detail. They talked about smells, temperatures, even sounds, all in locations they'd never visited. Some of these descriptions matched real-world places. Others, they didn't. But isn't that true for all intelligence work? What's strange is how long they kept the program running, over 20 years. If it didn't work, why keep funding it? Some say it was all a distraction, a psychological operation to confuse the Soviets. Others believe the government saw results, but didn't want the public to know how real it was. As for me, I still don't know what to believe. But the documents are real. The interviews are real. The funding, the military involvement, the secrecy, all of it happened. So the next time someone tells you psychic powers are nonsense, just remember, the US government spent millions testing them. And they didn't laugh. They wrote reports. You know what still gets me? This wasn't some YouTube theory or some Reddit thread gone viral. This was the United States government funding psychics. For 2 decades, they trained soldiers to see through walls, to sketch enemy bases they'd never been near, to find hostages, locate submarines, even explore Mars. Some of it sounded like nonsense, but other parts? They were too accurate to ignore. And still, after 20 years, they shut it all down, called it useless, filed it under no operational value, and buried the evidence. But why keep the files? Why keep records of drawings, locations, names, and sessions? If it was all just a failed experiment, I don't know if the Stargate Project ever actually worked. But I know this. The government doesn't spend millions on an idea they don't take seriously. And they don't run secret programs for decades, just for fun. So maybe remote viewing is fake. Maybe it's real. Or maybe the truth is somewhere in between, locked away in documents we'll never see. All I know is, after reading what I've read, I'll never look at just a feeling the same way again. If you want more strange but true government declassified secret files, hit that subscribe button, and I'll show you what else they've been hiding in plain sight. If you want a full deep dive video on this insane real-world program, drop a comment below and let me know. Oh, and all the research links I used, you'll find them in the description.